I started my video production company back in May of 2009, and back then there was really not that many resources on how to get started with a video production company and things to avoid, and YouTube was relatively new and there was not a lot of channels talking about that. So I wish I had this resource back then for someone to tell me all the things to kind of look out for along the way. So if you want to create a video production company, or if you're in the first couple of years of running a video production company, or you're not really sure if you're doing things correctly, I want to share a handful of things with you in this video that I think will save you some headache that I had to go through the hard way. Number one, and the thing that you really should know, is do you want to be a freelancer or do you want to be a business owner? Now, the difference is being a freelancer, you do all the work. Typically, a lot of us start as a freelancer and then start a video production company. But a lot of us never get out of being a freelancer. We just have a video production company where we still do all the work. So if you find yourself producing, shooting, editing, doing the color correction, everything that comes into creating a video, you're still freelancing, but for your own company. You really created yourself a job. And that's fine. If your goal is to make $50,000 to $100,000 a year as a freelancer working under your own production company, that is totally fine. A lot of people do that. I did that for many, many years. In fact, the first 4 years of running a production company, it was just me, and I wasn't really even hiring other freelancers. I was just trying to do all the work and doing everything under a production company name. So really know the difference and what is going to make you happy. Do you want to scale? Do you want to have $1 million video production company? Then early on, you got to be kind of setting aside freelancing versus running a company. You really want to focus on running a company. But it's really important to get this concept up front, because if you don't, you're going to burn out years from now when you're still freelancing and calling it running a company and still doing all the work. So know this up front, freelancer versus a business owner. The second thing I wish I knew was to niche down. The problem is when you start a video production company, you don't have enough work. So you take any work that comes your way. I know early on video production companies that were doing things from TV commercials to weddings and to events, things that had nothing to do with one another. The problem with that is you'll get work, but you always get the lowest level and the lowest budget of that type of work because you're not specialized in anything. I started specializing much later and narrowed it down to a handful of things I really cared about, like doing travel videos and doing cooking videos, food videos that I really loved, and doing short form documentaries that really made an impact and really stayed there. At first I was doing everything. I was doing a ton of events, live events, whatever came my way outside of weddings, we were doing it. And I was a lot of the times freelancing and doing it myself and juggling a lot of different projects that way. So what I recommend is find maybe 2 or 3 different types of jobs that you like. Maybe a commercial, maybe short films, whatever it may be that could pay the bills. You could do short films for companies. They pay a lot of money for that. Focus on that so your reel basically becomes that specific type that is really niche down and focused. And then you could really charge big bucks. So instead of doing a lot of projects for $3,000 to $5,000, when you niche down, you could get commercials that are significantly higher than that $10,000 to $50,000 commercials, really by being focused on the type of job you do. Even as a freelancer, your rate really skyrockets when you're the guy that does that specific thing. Maybe you're the jib operator that does food shots. If you're that specialized, you could really demand a higher rate. The third thing that I wish I knew was I wish I learned marketing way earlier. Advertising and marketing lets you basically build a machine for your video production company. So I could turn on an ad, for example, on Facebook or LinkedIn, get clients with that ad with a very specific offer, and turn that on and off. When I'm overworked, I'll turn it off. When I need clients, I'll turn it on. So what I learned was I know Instagram and I know Facebook and I know YouTube inside and out. I have much bigger YouTube channels. I run Instagram, Facebook ads all the time, selling all kinds of services and products. I learned LinkedIn a little bit. I wish I knew it a little bit better, so that's something I'm working on. But learn marketing as much as you can. Now I know how to build landing pages. I know how to outsource and get someone to build an entire website for me on a specific thing so I don't have to do it myself. A lot of those things I learned as I went on, and I wish I learned them since day one. Because when you have that machine and when you don't rely on word of mouth, so the next project doesn't come from your last client recommending it to someone else, which is how most production companies start. When you build a machine that could scale and you could get clients on demand, it changes the whole game. It takes out all the stress. It helps you scale. So learn marketing. I'll make more videos going into specifics on this channel, so subscribe if you want to see those. Tip number 4 is stop buying gear. Now, everyone I know is guilty of this. You keep buying the latest camera, you keep buying more lights, and as you could see behind me, I've done my fair share. But I stopped a while back, and I just really spent a very small fraction of the profits now on gear to just keep up to date. But now I rent a lot more than I used to. I used to never want to rent gear. If I needed a camera for a shoot, I would just buy the camera. I've bought lots of cameras where we made no money on the camera because it just sat there. And even to this day, we have more than 7 cameras, and we definitely don't need that many cameras. And a lot of times we still rent cameras we don't have. We rent lenses we don't have. Some things are good investments, especially if you're in the rental business on top of running a video production company. But if you're not in the rental business, stop buying gear. It's fine to have a kit that lets you do more jobs where you spend $5,000 to $10,000 in the first couple of years and building it out. But outside of that, you really should focus on marketing your website, building a better reel, niching down, focusing on getting more clients. And that way, you could always spend money on gear later when it's not that big of a deal. To do that for the first few years is really not the best way to go. And I know it's really tempting because a lot of us got into this business because we love the gear, we love the latest tech. But this is a never-ending cycle. I know guys in their 50s and 60s still get their mom to co-sign for getting a mortgage, for example, because they literally spend all their profit every year keeping up gear or getting more gear. And eventually they could have a ton of gear, but if there's no end and you have no plan to stop, you'll never stop. You could just keep buying gear for decades and decades. Next thing is keep overhead down. It's very, very tempting, and I know a lot of people that have done this. They start off thinking they need a studio space, they need a green screen sweep, they need all kinds of things with equipment and editing suite that cost more than 10 grand. Don't do that, especially when you're starting out. Again, focus on marketing and advertising, and that's where your dollars should go. And also your profits should go into outsourcing and growing your team over time. So in the beginning, definitely don't spend a lot of money on studio space. Try to rent out where you need to. The space, there's a lot of places that rent out space to shoot. Then try to not hire many people on salary, so your salary is also low. Try to start with freelancers, and as your volume goes up, really you need 6 figures in income to really be able to hire other people where it makes sense and give them a good salary to start in editing or producing. There are 2 things that I think you shouldn't worry about when it comes to this. One is have a good CPA, a good accountant, because taxes are very, very confusing when starting a business. And you don't want to try to figure out all of it. I tried for the longest time and went through a couple of accountants that were cheap, so I have a really good accountant now. So don't be cheap on when it comes to an accountant. The second thing is don't be cheap on your website. Either learn it well yourself or hire someone that really knows what they're doing so your website doesn't go down. It looks very unprofessional, especially when you learn marketing and send people to your website if your website is down. So make sure your website and email is a place you spend, and running accounting and a CPA, you also shouldn't really worry about how much you're spending there. It's worth the investment. And the last thing I want to share with you is diversifying your client base. Most production companies I know that are small rely on one big client, 1 or 2 sometimes. The problem is when that client pulls the plug, or they decide to bring someone in-house or a team in-house, or they decide they don't have the budget anymore, or something happens with the economy and they can't hire you to do video, it could devastate your entire business. So that's why I really focused on marketing and advertising early on in this video, because if you focus on that, this doesn't become a problem later on. I promise you, clients almost always find another solution to their problem, and you will lose one of your big clients at some point in your career. And if you rely on that client to run your whole business, you're gonna come across a problem. So diversify your client, try to have at least a handful of clients that pay you on a monthly basis, so you don't get to a position where one client could make or break your business. And those are all the tips I wanted to share with you in this video, but I'll make more videos. Let me know what you found useful about this one, so I'll go deeper into that topic in upcoming videos. And I have a ton of other videos on this channel on running a video production company, and a lot of gear related video because, you know, we all love gear, so I review and show you how to use a ton of different gear. Thanks so much for watching. Please give this a thumbs up if you found it useful, and I hope to catch you next time.